So I was watching YouTube the other day and watching YouTube ads because I don't have YouTube Premium and I don't use an ad blocker, when a very familiar voice came out of the device I was using.
Toddler chasers, horse wranglers, and multitasking actresses like me all use Nexplanon to prevent pregnancy.
It was an ad I'd seen a million times. I'd seen it so many times that I could recite it along with the actress, Vanessa Hudgens, who was in the ad. But this time, watching it got me thinking, you know, what's Vanessa Hudgens been up to? What's she doing here in this Nexplanon ad? How did she get here? And to answer that question, we're gonna have to go way back in time. But before I do that, let me just go ahead and introduce myself in case you're new here. My name is Kristen. Here on this channel, I like to do videos about social and cultural stuff, usually through the lens of pop culture and public figures, but not always. Today's video is going to be looking at Vanessa Hudgens' career, more specifically her acting career, mostly her films. So if that sounds interesting to you, strap in. Let's go back in time and I'll tell you the story of Vanessa Hudgens' career.
Do you remember the first time you wanted to entertain?
We'd have to go back to like 4-year-old Vanessa.
Really?
I just loved performing. Like, some people call themselves actresses, some call themselves musicians. I call myself like a performer because I grew up doing musical theater, and being on the stage and embodying other characters is how I felt comfortable as a functioning member of society.
Vanessa Hudgens grew up loving to perform. She participated in musical theater as a kid, took acting lessons, and auditioned for roles, you know, starting at a pretty young age.
I was an entertainer ever since I was very young. I was in my first play when I was 3. And then I started doing dance classes and singing lessons, and I loved it. I really enjoyed it.
She had been in a couple of TV shows in the year 2002, appearing as in certain episodes. And in 2003, she got her first role in a feature film, the movie 13. She played a supporting role alongside the lead actress, Evan Rachel Wood. She had a commercial, 2 more movies, and 2 more TV show appearances under her belt when she got the opportunity to audition for a Disney role. This role was for an upcoming Disney Channel original movie. She was originally hesitant about taking the audition. She had done Disney auditions before that led nowhere. And, you know, she kind of saw herself being more of an indie actress, and she liked the direction her career was going in. You know, the movie 13 was a pretty gritty, controversial movie. And so I think she was hoping to do more things like that. So she almost said no to the audition, but her mom said she had a good feeling about it and encouraged her to go for it anyway, and so she did. And 5 auditions later, involving singing, dancing, and acting, she was offered the role of Gabrielle in High School Musical. I'm sure when she accepted the role, she had no idea how big it would get, but from the time she said yes, there was no turning back, and the next couple of years would be dominated by Disney for her. With the movie a wild success and the movie's album topping the Billboard charts, she found herself, you know, Disney royalty. She was suddenly a big celebrity overnight. With that came a lot of screaming fans chasing her, photographers stalking her, and a lot of public scrutiny and very high expectations.
All I remember is a lot of kids screaming and us trying to run from them.
And she did not emerge from underneath the microscope unscathed. About a year after the release of High School Musical, an intimate photo that was taken when she was 17 was stolen and leaked online without her consent. This photo leak sparked outrage. Parents were very angry, and, you know, she really was not in a good place for this to be happening, because at the time that this photo got leaked, she was actually in talks with Disney about returning in her role as Gabriella for the sequel to High School Musical. But they hadn't made the deal yet, so she could very easily have lost that role. And so, you know, stakes were pretty high, and she had to figure out what to do to save her career, basically, because, you know, this really could have ruined her as a young actress. You know, she was 18 when these photos came out. So she issued a public apology, which seems like it was accepted because Disney released a statement, you know, saying more or less that she had apologized and hopefully she learned her lesson, which was something. And, you know, she was able to move on. She got the role of Gabriella again in the next High School Musical movie. High School Musical 2 was a huge success like the first one, and so she got to have the role again in High School Musical 3, which actually premiered in theaters. It was the only High School Musical movie that did go to theaters. Even though she managed to get through the photo leaking ordeal, without losing her role and without losing her success, it had an effect on her. She would later say that the event was pretty traumatizing, and she kind of opened up about the way that she felt just dehumanized and, treated like a merchandise as instead of a real person during that time as a Disney star. With High School Musical 3's release, she was at the top of the, children's media world. She was the face of Disney. She was Gabrielle in High School Musical. She could have gone anywhere in children's media at that point, but she'd always wanted to be in more mature roles and doing more indie films, doing things that are a little bit darker and grittier and just more varied in general. So she wasn't gonna go down that path of continuing to do Disney, kids movies. So she had to figure out a way to transition into more mature roles. Luckily, her acting experience before High School Musical, as well as her experience, I think, while working on the High School Musical franchise, she had become a very skilled actress. She was very good in interviews. She had, poise. She knew how to carry herself. And she probably knew how to advocate for herself behind the scenes. So with all of this knowledge and experience that she gained from her time at Disney, she was going to try to leverage that and get herself back into more mature roles and kind of get her career back on track after she took that little detour down the Disney child star path. Ultimately, it seems like she was able to steer her career back into the direction she wanted by doing more gritty roles in some darker movies. She appeared as a stripper in the fantasy action film Sucker Punch. She played a college student in the, kind of cult indie film Spring Breakers. She played a pregnant runaway teen in the movie Give Me Shelter. And she played a teen runaway in the thriller The Frozen Ground between the years 2011 and 2013. So she definitely got herself away from the squeaky clean, cheesy kid movie roles that she had been doing, with Disney. She's been in various films, as well as on stage in live musicals, as well as on live TV musicals. And in every role that she's done, she's brought a sense of sincerity to it. She acts without a shred of irony, and this effect that she brings, her characters they invite you into the film. They ask you to suspend your disbelief and enjoy the next couple of hours. And this ability to kind of disappear into a role and just play it earnestly and not have to use sarcasm or irony as a shield behind, things that are a little cheesy and are hard to pull off. This ability would serve her well in her next franchise, which would be Netflix Christmas movies. After the way High School Musical threw off her career and kind of got her branded as a Disney star, I was surprised that she decided to do Netflix Christmas movies, because I feel like doing this kind of Hallmark, sickly sweet style Christmas movie, it really could have gotten her typecasted back into that kind of role of, the lead female in a sweet rom-com type movie. But it seems like if there's any lesson she took out of her time with High School Musical, it was that she doesn't have to let roles cause her to be pigeonholed if she doesn't want to let them. She starred in The Princess Switch and The Night Before Christmas in 2018 and 2019 respectively. And then she starred in the sequel to The Princess Switch, which is The Princess Switch Switched Again, in 2020, as well as starring in Bad Boys for Life in 2020. So it really seems like, over the course of her career, she has learned how to get herself into a variety of roles and balance everything such that she doesn't get pigeonholed into any one type of role.
Why do you go into these weird films?
Because they're challenging, and that's how you grow, by pushing yourself. And now's the time. I know now is the time to do it while I'm young, to push myself out of my comfort zone so that that becomes bigger.
I'll bet there's a director watching this. I got a perfect role for her, serial killer.
I mean, I'd be down.
She didn't get pigeonholed as the Disney female lead. She didn't get pigeonholed as the indie darling. She didn't get pigeonholed as the Netflix Christmas movie girl. She's doing great. After spending my weekend learning about the wide variety of roles she's taken on, not just in film, but also in theater productions, musicals, commercials, the line in the Nexplanon commercial about her being a multitasking actress really rings true.
And multitasking actresses like me.
Oh, and speaking of Nexplanon, back to the original question I asked in this video. How did she end up the spokesperson for Nexplanon? Well, she's done a ton of commercials. She's been in commercials since 2003, doing work with companies like Reese's, Old Navy, Neutrogena. So when she got on Nexplanon, it probably just made sense to do Nexplanon commercials because she's already been doing commercials. So yeah, that's the story of Vanessa Hudgens' acting career, more focused on her film work. Hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope you will consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. Bye!